What we know is that Gareth Southgate will have talks in the next few weeks about a new contract with the FA, and his job will carry on for an extended period if obviously those talks go well and everybody's happy with what is said and what they're hearing. Trevor, you have a theory on this one, do you not? That further down the line, club management may suit Gareth. Did I hear you say that even Gareth could be considered at Newcastle?
Well, I think the Newcastle job, for one, obviously Steve Bruce is still the manager, so let's
and incidentally, I've just had a message. It's training as usual with Steve Bruce this morning.
Let's not talk out of turn. But I think with where he lives, Harrogate, and where that is situated domestically in the country, I would say something like Leeds, Newcastle. I think he's good enough for that. You look at his record; he's got the second best win ratio as any England manager. The top is Capello with 66%, Alf Ramsey 61%, Glenn Hoddle 60%. He's got 64% win ratio. He's been to 2 semi-finals, 1 final. He's a great leader of men. He's great with the media. I think he's brought in some young players, so he's good at working with young players. They're all the pros. Cons, he's not won anything. And tactically, at times, he's been questioned.
So you think PIF should look at Southgate?
I'm not saying they should look at him, but I think it would be a good suit, but possibly not now because he's going to go to the World Cup and he possibly could go to the next Euros.
Of course.
But in the future, it could be something that they could look at.
Yeah. Further down the line, you see Gareth back in club management, Simon? I mean...
Yes, because he said it alike previously. It's an interesting perspective, slightly warped. I can't imagine that there's any queue of domestic managers or domestic clubs wanting to take Gareth Southgate.
Disagree.
Internationally, arguably, you could argue the case that actually the international opposition is actually less competitive than the domestic opposition because some of the teams that we're playing are pretty rank average.
But not when it gets to the latter stages of a World Cup or the Euros.
And that's when we lose. Right? So with the best will in the world...
At the semi-final and final stages?
Lost. Yeah, so when you get past Panama and you get past Ukraine and then you get past the other minnows that we get past and then you play the big side and we get beat. Now, the conversation started with contract and his situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so you give somebody a contract in advance of a tournament. For what reason? For what reason? He's the England manager.
Yep.
It's the pinnacle of his career. You're going to pay him within reason what he may well want. So why would you give him a contract in advance of a tournament when you don't know how... What if he goes into that tournament and we are shocking and we get knocked out in the group... Arguably, we get knocked out in the group stages. I don't think it will happen, but we're shocking. There's no progress in the tournament. And you've given him a 4-year contract prior to the tournament. Wouldn't you take an option based upon his performance in the tournament because he's only as good as his next tournament?
But they might do that anyway.
But we're talking about the fact that they're negotiating with a contract now. It's been on the cusp or on the cards.
Yeah,
for
in the
some
next
time,
few weeks they'll do it. Yeah,
and I've been regularly saying, but why? And what you're saying is because you need to watch out because the Man City will be after him.
The FA want to nail him down, don't they?
Why? Where's he going? Because a big long list. Following Trevor's argument, there will be a big long list of clubs that will be looking for him.
So
domestically.
you don't believe he's marketable as things stand as a potential Premier League manager?
I look at him and think he's done a very good job in the circumstances that he's been asked to manage England in. I think he's had a takeover from Sam when there was a little bit of a debacle with Sam's behaviour and obviously the Iceland performance in the 2016 Euros. I think he's run well through tournaments where we've had very favourable draws, but I think he's a long way away from an elite manager. And if we're talking about him managing Burnley, oh yeah, fine, okay, I can see that argument, absolutely. If you're talking about him managing Norwich or a promoted West Bromwich Albion, if you're talking about him managing a top 6 club...
You're not having the England manager, Gareth Southgate, going back into domestic football, and with all due respect to both Burnley and Norwich managing there.
Why is that then?
I mean, honestly, Trevor, you're pitching bigger.
Would you have him at Man City?
You are thinking further up the food chain.
I think Manchester City's quite a unique club now because...
Because the one you like?
No, it's not. If you go into Manchester United, you can take whatever philosophy you've got in football and how you want to play.
Anything, yeah. It'll be fine there then. He's the next manager of Manchester
United.
It's
a loaded question, Trevor.
Do you want to
Simon, it's a loaded question.
No,
of course he doesn't. Southgate's not going to take over from Pep.
Why?
Answer your own question. Do you see him going to Manchester City?
He's an elite. Of course I bloody well don't. That's why I've asked a loaded question. Because
there you go. So he's conceded it was a loaded question, Trevor. When he does, Trevor, don't answer a loaded question.
But it's a loaded question insofar as you can't answer it.
I can answer it. So the the answer that I'll give is, if you're saying he's going to go in at a Chelsea or a Manchester City or Manchester United, no. Right. But I think the group of clubs just under that, I think he's earned enough stripes and he's done it well enough at England.
Such as whom?
That he could. Well, I mentioned two, Leeds
and
Newcastle.
To be considered.
I think both of them.
And we differ. I'm not trying to influence your thinking. I'm giving my view on it.
Yeah, no.
If you believe he's at that level, that's fine. That's called a difference of opinion.
I think when you look at him,
Trevor,
he's great with the media. I think he's a leader. He's shown that he can lead a group of men. He knows what he expects from his players. I think when you look at the performances, they've been great since he took over. Remember, we had South Africa. We were appalling.
Oh yeah.
And then the next.
But Trevor, the bigger question here is it in Southgate's interest to commit longer term to the FA at this stage prior to Qatar?
You'd have to ask him that, because I don't know what his objectives are. I don't know what his ambitions are. But for me, I feel, listening to him at the back end of the Euros, I feel there's not too many years left with England for Gareth.
Whose interest should we fundamentally be interested in? The well-being of the individual or what's best for the national side? I would ask and advocate that we're looking at what's best for the national side. And surely managers are awarded contracts after tournaments. He has a contract which runs him up to the Qatar tournament. And obviously, if he does well in that tournament, whatever well looks like, then there's no reason to change it unless you've got a very good reason.
Well, his form suggests that you will.
Because he got to the final and
semi-final, final. His form suggests at a big tournament, they will excel. They might not win it, but they'll come close.
If you continue, absolutely, if we continue to get these wonderful draws that give us opportunities to progress to semi-finals and finals by paying, on the whole, minnows, then of course his form suggests
There's an argument you can only beat what's in front of you.
That's very true. And when it comes to the point where you can't beat what's in front of you, that's where you find your level.
Yeah.
And if our level is to be the bridesmaid and never the bride...
What, beating Germany on the way?
Germany were rubbish. Oh, come on now. The Germans of 10 years ago, we can argue that.
Well, they weren't against Portugal. I commentated on that game. They were brilliant. They won 4-2.
And the Portuguese were pretty poor as well in that tournament, weren't they?
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.